you want to know your path to ascension? Stick around and let me know in the comments what step you're on. Okay, we'll start at the beginning because it starts with not quite feeling like you can trust your intuition, or not quite feeling like you fully want to act on your intuition. And so this is the phase of trial and error, where some things you're doing is just impulsive, some things are intuitive, you're figuring out what's what, and it just, it's a free for all. But from this, you do learn how to trust yourself, and you do learn that you have this internal wisdom and this internal compass that is guiding you. And it may feel like your internal self is not quite lining up, it's not matching with your external environment. You might start to look around you and say, I'm not aligned with that. I don't want that for me. I kind of like, you feel ready to evolve. Like this can be a marker for big moves, leaving jobs or changing jobs, leaving relationships, just like physical transformations to like get your environment, your outside world to match this inner world that you've been building, refining, and working on. Then we get to this point where you've been working on it, right? You've been changing the things, the environment, the self. You've been meditating, finding stillness, manifesting things, seeing more and more come into your life, and you can really start to look and see your accomplishment stacking up, your success is stacking up, goals checked, goals checked. And it's like you're writing in your journal or something, and all of a sudden you get to the last page and you can look back and say, oh my gosh, I did that, right? You get to this phase of reflection, and this is kind of a peak, right, where you get to look around you and say, wow, like I've made it this far, this is amazing. It's like one of those times where you do need to stop, give yourself the pat on the back, like take a breath, take a beat before you keep going, and just celebrate making it this far, making it out of not trusting the intuition to trusting it, being wise, changing your environment, allowing all this transformation to happen. That's a lot. That's a lot to go through. And so being able to build on what you've been working on, and then to really look around you and say, wow, like, look at all this that I built. It's like a really good feeling. But then you get to this point of almost feeling guilty because you realize, like, now you're over here and there's people you used to know or people you love who are not with you. And you may become less relatable to people, and you may find distance in certain friendships or relationships. And you may be meeting new people who are more aligned with you, or who are going at the same pace as you and on their ascension. And so there's this feeling of like, I don't want to come off as greedy. You don't want people to think you're greedy or selfish, or like that you have too much or something like that. And they're not like you're minimizing yourself, you're trying to shrink yourself, but there is just like this like really wanting to stay humble and not rub anything in anybody's face, because you are so grateful to be where you are, and you understand like the journey. And so all you can hope is that people will use you as an example to follow their own passions and figure out their own path and want to ascend for themselves. Not do everything that you do, but to figure out how it works for them as an individual. Okay. And then you get into this phase of just like allowing things to be easy, finding out what works for you. You don't feel like you need to apologize or over explain for who you are, what you have, and how you live. You allow things to come to you easily. You seek ease and flow in your life. We can call this flow state. All right. You find your flow state. You really find your groove. And then you get into this place where it is like a very truly like divine divine correlation, causation, I don't know, happening for you, where the seeds you planted way back when, like this intuition, these little nuggets that you've picked up, these visions that you've had of your life and your future, really start coming to life. And like these are these deep come to Jesus moments where you're like so deeply grateful, so moved by all that is. And it's one of those things where you really can't take credit for everything. You showed up, you did the best you can, but you really recognize that there is a higher power. You are blessed beyond belief. And these things that are happening to you are happening for a reason, and to serve you and to lift you up and to continue to build this beautiful life, this beautiful lifestyle that you're building. And you start seeing a starker contrast because your observation, your pattern recognition is so sharp. You start seeing a starker contrast between people who are on their path, whether they're like quickly ascending or taking their time, just on their path, right? Doing things that feel aligned to them, trying to learn more about themselves, trying to do the shadow work, trying to be the best version of themselves, and people who aren't, just simply people who are not, don't care, like in other negative toxic loops. All of that starts to become very, very visible, and you're able to see it from this like outside lens looking in, because before it could have been like, this environment's not matching me, I need to get away. But now it's like, whoa, you can see all of the moving parts and how everything's works. Okay, so that's like, it's amazing, like this metacognition sort of thing. And then you get to this point where, no, I don't want to say like you're completely unrelatable, but your life is way above average. It's like not the average life story. You are in another world. You may be in your bubble, with yourself, your family, like-minded friends, but there is this sense that like there are people who are left out of your life, of your path, of your blessings, who maybe, like we said, you know, you start to see that judgment. You start to see that how things work out, the consequences of behavior. That then you get to the point where, you know, people who were rooting for you start rooting against you. People start being like negative towards you. Wanted to like people start to turn on you, right? Because they feel left out and it feels so inaccessible to them. But they can do it. They need to be on their own path. Like, I digress, but that's kind of that final peak. And not everybody's left out. You're going to look around you and there'll be a few people, you know, the close circle of people who have ascended in the way you have. But there will be more and more people who, the more they look up and watch you soar, you know, their necks start to hurt.